Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this video, we are going to continue our journey inside of Vantage from Stonemaier Games. For those out there that haven't had a chance to check out my game unboxing, the how to set up video as well as part number 1, I definitely recommend you do to better understand how we got to where we're currently at right now. And the final thing I did, the major thing at the end of part number 1, was I built my first structure using blueprints. And I decided to create a structure known as the training grounds here at location 343 and at 342, which is just to the east of us. I actually pushed a captain overboard and stole his ship. Now, I did use the build location action on card 343, so we're not going to be using that again as we're not able to, but my structure comes with a whole bunch of actions that I can take as many times as I wish. Of course, the only downside to that is it could affect my health, morale, and time as I'm continually just sitting here and doing actions and maybe not doing other things, but I am kind of curious about maybe one more thing at this structure. Now, as I take a look at the open slots for dice on my character grid, we have some slots open, which could be very useful for a take skill type of action, like acquire on my structure. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't have any skill tokens I can add into this equation, but let's go into the storybooks inside of the rule pop and we'll see what happens. I punched in the structure number on the card, which is 1293, and we're going ahead with a take skill, so we'll see how things pan out in this storybook. It says we're going to be doing a cost 3, acquiring a new training obstacle. I'm using 3 challenge dice of the 5 in my pool, so there's 2 remaining. Let's go ahead and make the roll and see how this pans out. That is actually insane. You're not going to hear me complain about a roll like that to start things off. No penalties at all. They all end up in the challenge penalty area in the bottom right-hand corner of the dashboard, and we jump right past this with no issues whatsoever. Pretty awesome. It says here to gain a boost on this structure. There are 3 slots on the structure, so there must be something that happens based on one of the actions here that potentially gives us something or does something. So we'll go ahead and place one here for now because this card is more vertical than horizontal. Now, because I did so well on the roll, I'm very interested in doing this yet again another time. And you can, unless, of course, something tells you otherwise on structures. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do another acquire action. Now, as we know, this challenge is going to have us use 3 dice. I only have 2 in my challenge pool right now, so we're doing a refresh, all the dice coming from the grid and the challenge penalty area going back into the pool. And with all the dice back in, let's go ahead and make a roll with the 3 dice we need. And again, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just checking here to see we got a slot here available. The slot here is available. We could potentially put a time here as well. So we definitely have ways to mitigate this. Let's see how it goes. Wow, I dropped one. We'll go with it. Whatever it ends up being, and it ends up being a setback. And then these 2, oh my gosh, I am getting so lucky on this. That worked out pretty awesome, and the setback I'll place back in the pool. If I had a spot I could actually put it in that would give me some type of benefit, I could do that if I wanted to. The only spot that is available is this one here, but it ties to overpower, so I cannot do that right now because I'm not doing that type of skill check. So we're going to go ahead and take that boost I got just now. That's going to go on the training obstacle, and again, this is going to boost up the building itself. We got 2 now here out of 3 positions on the training grounds. I'm not going to lie, I want to continue doing this. I want to find out more about what this could potentially give me, and things are going well on the roll. So let's go ahead and do another roll of 3 here. We're doing the exact same thing again, the acquire action there on this structure. Let's see how we do with the 3 dice we have, and we got ourselves 2 time and 1 that is not going to affect us. The good news is I know I have slots for these. I'm going to go ahead and place this die into this one right up here, which ties to the type of skill I just used, and that's perfect. So that is going to allow me to get a boost on this multi-tool. And finally, the other time we'll mitigate that one by placing it on the character card, which is perfect because that's going to give us another boost here. And we could, if we want to, either cash in the 2 boosts right now to get a coin, or we could cash it in to get ourselves a move skill token. And of course, I can also choose to use 1 at a time in order to get a reroll or some other result allowing me to transfer cards that are reserved into my grid. So for now, I'm not going to use a boost, but knowing that I have that available is nice. So now I'm very intrigued to start checking out the other actions here at the structure to see if something will provide us a benefit for having these boosts all filled up. Now I'm going to take a look here across my grid. It's a little bit off camera at the moment, but I have some slots available for the skill that pertains to movement. 2 slots, in fact, if I happen to land a blank on that type of roll, or I happen to land one of the morale icons. So I can mitigate that roll pretty easily, which is the top option, balance. So I think I'll go with that and we'll see what happens. Let's dig in and find out. We'll hit the check mark here, and it says we're doing a cost 2, balance your personal and professional goals. I have no skill tokens to add into the equation, so I'm rolling 2 dice from my pool. Now I have 3 left in the pool as I roll these 2 dice, and we got ourselves another one that's not going to incur any penalty, and this one, setback, I can actually slot in if I want to take advantage of something, or I could place this back in the dice challenge pool. Now, I was all excited because I thought I could actually place this die into here, but it says on the water, and we're currently not actually thematically on the water. We are interacting with a structure, and we are on land thematically, so I'm not going to allow myself to do that. And we also have another option way up top, but it has to be a morale icon. So in this case, the setback is just going to go right back to the challenge dice pool. I'm looking forward to finding out what this is going to reveal for us. It says you take a deep look at your aspirations, motivations, and priorities, and you see a path forward just running your own business here. Gain Destiny 1601, place it in the center. You've completed it and may end the game when you're ready, and 1 boost on your character. That is absolutely crazy. This is the fastest I think I've ever gotten a Destiny card in any game ever that I've played of Vantage to this point. That was pretty insanely quick. So we got ourselves a setup shop Destiny card here, and it says have at least 1 business, a commerce, agriculture, or service structure. If you do, you may complete the Destiny by reading 1601 in the Book of Secrets. So we could choose to end the game right here because one of the end game conditions is that you complete your Destiny, or of course we could push to try and actually pull off the mission goal as well. And as I mentioned, we also get to boost our character as well. So we'll go ahead and place a boost here. And I am definitely going to go after that goal, that mission. I do not want to end the game right now. I want to see if I can pull off both. Now, my mindset is focused on the mission goal at this point, but I'm also wondering what these boosts do on the structure. So one of the ones I have not tried is the sell. We're going to go ahead and do that action. That's going to use the engage skill, and it's going to be 1293, which is on the structure. Let's find out what it says. It says we're doing a cost 3, sell your training services to a sentient. So we're going to go ahead and roll 3 dice. I don't have any skill tokens that relate to this at all, but I have 4 dice in my challenge pool. So we're going to roll 3 right now, leaving 1 in there. Let's see how we do. And do I have any slots I can place stuff in? I have 2. One could use an hourglass from this roll, and the other is a blank space that's specific to this type of skill. So that can be good. That'll actually push up our mask a little bit. My rolls have been fantastic, but it is worth mentioning that challenge dice do have 2 no penalty sides on them. So the odds are in your favor to actually get these, but I certainly have been getting them quite a bit here, which is really nice. So these are going to go into this area like so, and we only have to deal with a 1. So I could easily go ahead right now and slot this in to this position right here, or I could choose to place it right here as it ties to the same skill, and this would actually give us a boost on this card on the silly mask going up by 1. And of course, the mask, as I mentioned inside of part number 1, has some really cool ones it can tie to specifically for actions around engaging, like befriending, diffusing, and entertaining. So if we ever run into those options, we can stick a die in this slot. Let's find out what happens when we sell our training services to a sentient. It says, you entice a sentient to run the obstacle course and they're instantly hooked. We're gaining X number of coins, where X is the number of ability cards you have, plus the number of boost on this structure. There it is, finally. I was wondering when the boost thing would come around through one of these actions. So this is a productive benefit from this, and it says, alternatively, you can pay 3 boost from the structure and lose the structure itself to gain its value. Oh, that's very interesting. The value of the structure is 20 coins. That is a lot of coins. And the other option is to add up the boost I have on the structure, which is 3, and then add all the ability cards to that total, which would be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The gold curse does not count as an ability card, even though it takes up one of the slots on the grid. So essentially it's 8 coins and keep the structure, or sell the structure and get 20 coins. That is a choice I have, and it also seems, based on the entry and based on interacting with the structure in general, that I could go ahead and repeat this action over and over again if I wanted to. Of course, if I sell the structure for 20, the structure is gone, and that's it. I don't have the option to come back to it, whereas if I keep it and just take 8 right now, I could potentially come back and do the same again in the future, which actually might be more beneficial. So I think gaining the 8 coins on top of the 1 I already have for a total of 9 is the best course of action here, as I don't really want to see this building get sold off just yet. And it's also worth mentioning that this structure is beyond a structure at this point to me, because I was able to get this thing to the point of being a shelter, which means for all intents and purposes during gameplay, if something calls upon that, I have that. But if I sell this thing, well, that's gone as well. Now, if I remember correctly, there was a couple really cool and interesting items on the traveling merchant, and I can call that individual back by going ahead and doing a buy action off my character card, which is going to have us head to card 1439, my character card, and we're doing that engage action. So let's go ahead and engage with the traveling merchant as we did in part number 1. And when we hit the check mark here, it says we need to do a cost of 2 for the challenge dice. Now I have 1 challenge die in there, and at the moment have no other way I want to actually bring any kind of skill tokens into the equation to reduce this. So we're going to be refreshing before we make this roll. So that's going to bring all the dice back to the challenge pool. And from here, we'll go ahead and roll 2 dice and we'll see how the results fare for us. We're doing an engaged skill-based action, so because of that, I could slot this star die right into, which would affect my morale if I left it the way it was and didn't slot it. I could put it into here, and that's going to pump up my boost on this silly mask to the maximum, so let's go ahead and do that. And for the setback die, we'll go ahead and simply place it right back in the challenge pool. And now back to the traveling merchant, we can certainly afford some of the more higher cost items. It's also worth mentioning I made a goof on how many coins I actually have. I had 1, I gained 8, so I should have 9. Right now, somehow I have 10. I don't know what I did there, but I goofed up, so 1 of the coins will disappear. So I only have 9 to spend, but that's more than enough to pick any of the ones that are here. Of course, I can't take the one that I already have, but I could go after the metal key or even go after the bone machete. Now, whatever I end up buying is going to improve that skill that's related to it, and so I've got 2 that I'm really eyeing. One is the bone machete at 5, and the other is the metal key. The bone machete I know I'll make use of against enemies in the future as a more physical way of dealing with things, but the metal key, I have no idea what that will open or do for me, so I'm very intrigued by it. I think I might actually go for the key. So I've got 1 coin left after purchasing that, so all of my math is squared away at this point. We get the right amount. So basically, I'll just place this back in my inventory, and we're going to go ahead and click on the metal key one. It tells us to take item 918. The metal key is an item device, and it has 2 slots at the top, which is great. This one pertains to a take hijack. This one is just a regular take skill, and this one's going to give us a boost, which will end up down here. There's 3 spaces for that. Cashing in 2 will provide us an engaged skill token, which is nice. So we have that option now going forward, and then at the bottom here, we can take an action to craft into an advanced item, replacing this with a universal key, and then, of course, finding out what that is all about as we go. It's just very interesting to see the different types of items I'm gaining now when I could have really used these earlier before I made my big move to push the captain over the ship and take the ship, because the mask would have certainly helped me for not taking a curse if I had had that in time, and this would have helped me with the hijack. It would have been absolutely perfect. I have all these things that I kind of wish I had really early on in the game, but of course that's not how it works, but it's very thematically cool to see how all these things start to tie together as your story unfolds. Now, as I've done a location action in the past on 343, I'm going to choose to depart in the near future, but before I do, let's go ahead and take 1 more sell action at the structure that I have in order to gain some more coins back before we venture out. So I'll grab 3 dice from the challenge pool and make a roll now with a lot of slots open up. We should be able to mitigate whatever comes at us. We'll see how it goes. We got ourselves 1 no penalty. We have a setback and 1 that would impact our health. We're doing an engaged skill action, and so because of this, we'd only be able to use this one, which is already populated here. I could also use this one, but it has to be timed, so it's not going to work. So it looks like we're actually taking a hit to our health for this, because there's nothing else I can do unless I wanted to do this. Reroll 1 of your challenge dice and gain a skill token associated to take if we get the same result. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want to make sure I don't take a hit to health. So let's go ahead and roll this one and see what we get. And there we go. It ended up being a dash, which is a blank, no penalty, going into the challenge dice area. And we'll go ahead with the setback one and we'll place it up top here. Although I can't place it there or any of these other spots. Nope, it has to go back up here. And selling our services at the training guard is going to provide us 3 from the boost tokens we have, plus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 on top of the 1 we already had is 10, so we'll just go ahead and exchange it out for a 10 coin. I have a decision to make. Do I want to head to the east? Of course, that'll take me back to where I came from before, or I could head west to go to 342. These are adjacent locations with a value, so it would be 1 in terms of cost to move there, or I could go north, or I could go south. Now, it appears there's some kind of weird tower-like structure there in the distance. It looks like something that has some lights in it or some kind of illumination. I'm not really sure, but maybe if we actually use our boat by going across and moving that way, we could potentially see what it is. Let's actually head north from location 343. And we'll see very quickly whether this pans out for us. Let's go ahead. So going north, we're going to reveal the top here. We're going to be swimming across the canal to the north shore. Again, we have the boat. I pulled 3 dice from the challenge pool, but before we do that, let's decide if we want to do anything that could give us a skill token to help us out and mitigate how many we need to use here and potentially hitting our main attributes. I do have 2 boost tokens on my character, which I could cash in right now for a move skill token, which I'm going to do. So we'll go ahead and remove the 2 boosts we have here to do the boost action, which we can do anytime we want, gaining the move skill token. And we're going to use it right away to take away one of the dice that we need to roll. It's a cost of 3, so now it'll just be 2. And we'll go ahead and roll these dice. This is, of course, discarded. And let's see how the roll goes. Now, this is certainly a tougher roll to deal with, but we do have the boat here, and when we're on the water, which we are, we can go ahead and slot a die of any type in here. Looking up here, we can put a morale star up here. We have to. It's the only one we can put up here. So we could go like this, placing this up here and the heart here in this position, and that's going to mitigate both of those. Plus, it's going to gain a boost on our boat. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but on the boat, there's also an action we can take in the future to go ahead and fish. Of course, having a boat, we have the option to go fishing. We are focused primarily on swimming across the canal to the North Shore, so let's see what happens. The water tastes slightly brackish. Go to 507. Now, when you're departing from a location into another location and you have a structure there, you're going to be taking the card you're currently on, which is 343, returning it back to where your character card is. And when you do that, you can then place a structure vertical right in front of it to remind you that is where you've built the structure in case you come back. And you can even see the structure card poking up on top of the location deck, which is really nice reference for later on when you're trying to get back there. Now, you might be wondering, well, how am I going to remember that number? Well, just make a note off to the side. You might even want to make a little mini map as to how you even got there in the first place by location card in case you need to traverse across a few to get to where that structure is built. But for me, I can remember 343. It's a pretty easy number in my head for now. But as I go on throughout gameplay, I might start to forget as there might be multiple things going on. So keep a little pad off the side. Now, the game will tell you not to do it necessarily in this way, I believe. Instead, you place it horizontal just below your dashboard, and you can make a note off to the side rather than putting it inside the box here. But I actually really like having it inside the deck of cards because it just comes right along with that location. But enough about that location. Let's focus on the one we just moved into, 507. You'll see an icon here in the narration at the very bottom, and that means the mysterious traveler is talking to you. And it says, the ocean ahead is vast. If you proceed this way, you will choose between holding your breath underwater and staying on the unpredictable surface. So this mysterious traveler is not wanting us to proceed any further, whether we swim or use a boat or anything. We do not want to be under the water or on the water because it all seems pretty nasty going forward. So he's essentially giving us a warning, but there's a number of location actions we could do here if we wanted to. Now, instead of a location action, let's do a card action on the sailboat. I've got 5 dice in my challenge pool, and as you can see here, we could take this card action for 5 dice. We'd have to pay a boost, which I would absolutely do, and of course, that's going to take away from potentially getting a skill token if we wanted to go that way, but I'd rather upgrade this thing. We're rolling 5 dice, and we're trying to upgrade this boat to an advanced vehicle. I have no skill tokens to put in the equation, so I'm using all 5 dice from the challenge pool. We're going to roll these right now. Now, I do have mitigation through all these dice slots here. There's 3 of them that pertain to this type of help skill, and we also have this one here for time. So technically, there's 4 that I can work with out of the 5 dice. So pretty good in the mitigation side of things. We'll see how it goes. These high dice rolls can be scary. Okay, here's a whole bunch of symbols we have to deal with. These 3 we do. These ones not so much. This one here can go into the penalty section, doesn't hurt us. Setback, we can use it if we need to. The time one is obviously, is going to go right into this slot. So that's going to leave us with 3 more remaining. Can we get them into all these other ones? Well, oh no, time is what needs to be used up here and down here. It could be any for any skill. So it makes more sense to probably put this one up here, leave this open for another type of skill usage in the future. And we'll go ahead and bury this one right here into this position, which is going to allow me to put a boost on the experience. And this one over here will allow me to put a boost on this. So we have filled up 3 here and 2 over here. And the setback die, we're not going to slot in anywhere. I have no reason to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and place this back in the challenge dice pool. So at this point in time, now we're going to go ahead and resolve this. So after we just did that, we're going to go ahead down here. It says, replace this with a merchant ship 1015. So we've now upgraded our ship, and it's even better this time around. The die that was on the previous ship is in the discard area for the penalty dice, and the 1 boost we had on it is gone out of the equation. So this is the new merchant ship on the water, can now go into any of these 3. So this actually works really well because we're currently literally on a location that is on the water. So this could actually help us depending on which one we want to go after in terms of a skill action. Before we go any further, though, a couple other things happened here inside of our grid. We filled up the card right here. It says, if full, at the end of your turn, you must lose this card and gain a skill token for 2 different skills. We're going to gain one for help and one for overpower, which is awesome. You may then replace your character, transfer their boost with 1445. We don't have any boost to transfer, so we're simply just swapping out. And our character's experiences have given her more survival skills, so she's now known as a survivor. She has a take die slot up top for a boost. She also has the time slot here, which will give a boost. And there's the boost slots below. Buy and equip are the actions on the cards. She can still do what she did before in terms of using 2 boosts to get either a coin or a skill token that has to do with move. And then down below, she's still got that reroll. I don't believe anything's changed there, although I could be wrong. It says reroll one of your challenge dice until the result changes. Treat all of your setback as a blank result. Actually, that is better. Or transfer 1 reserve card into your grid. So that has been upgraded as well. And it says here, ignore heat damage. So we now have that as a benefit. Of course, the only con in this equation is that we've lost one of the cards on our grid. So we have a little less space in terms of dice slots, but that's okay because our character is getting stronger. Now over here, the animal also, at this point in time, I could, if I want to, choose to go ahead and get rid of both the boost on here, and the animal can now become loyal to us. This is an absolutely wild series of events here. Our character getting stronger and cooler by the second here. So now we have a loyal animal that is going to have differences in terms of the cost. The animal now is double in the coin cost. The exact same in terms of the supply reserve icons there. It says when placed, we're going to go ahead and gain 1. So when we gain 1 at this point in time, it's going to go on our character card, which is going to go right here. And then we've got these 2 die slots up here. So this one here is going to be tied to the help, which will give us a boost down below. And you can use comfort, ignoring all of your morale hits on unplaced dice. Place them in the center. Oh, very cool. That's going to be handy. And then this one over here is tied to the Wade, and that is tied to movement in terms of doing that specific action. Very cool. I'm very interested to see how this is going to work. Now, don't forget, if I focus on getting another boost in this multi-tool, I can either gain a take skill or I can gain my first personal objective. I definitely want to go after the latter. So to do that, I'll want to take an action that ties to the take skill. As you can see here, I could slot a die on a roll, and that would give me a boost. The boost is kind of hidden off to the side behind the die there. So while we're at this location, we have not taken a location action yet. Let's go ahead and gather. Let's find out what a gather action entails. At this location, we can gather intel from the Traveler. I've got a single die left in the challenge pool, so that's perfect for the cost of this action. Let's go ahead and make the roll and see how things pan out. We got ourselves a star that's going to hit our morale. But as I mentioned before, we have a slot to place this die, and we want to put it in this multi-tool. So we'll go ahead and do that and gain a boost. Now let's find out what kind of intel we gathered from the Traveler, and then we'll come back here and use the multi-tool. I am very curious about the intel coming from the Traveler. Let's find out what it is. It says, if you're looking to forge an alliance with these underwater people, well, that's interesting. I didn't know there was underwater people, but now I do. There is no greater challenge than to complete the Trial of Strength to the northeast. How long can you hold your breath? We get to gain a boost right now and 1 overpower skill. That seemed to have worked out pretty good, and we also got some interesting intel, which works out nicely for us, something we could explore in the future. For now, we'll place a boost on the character as we gain 1, and also an overpower token, so we're going to have 3 of these now. So this one, we can't do any more location actions on 507, but let's go ahead and spend some boost from the multi-tool and find out what our personal objective is. Would you look at this? The personal objective says enter a building. It says if you enter or inside of a building, you can read 1613 in the Book of Secrets. Well, I can tell you right now that I'm definitely going to be heading back to my structure right now. I'm going to head south back to my structure, which I know is behind me, and so we're going to go into the storybook departing south from 507. We're departing 507. Let's see what the storybook says. We are heading south, and as we likely will see, yes, we are swimming back across the canal, and this is going to be a 3 cost. I don't have any dice available, so they're all coming back to the challenge pool. So a quick reset of the dice. All the dice have been replenished, and I'm also spending 2 boost off my character card right now in order to get a move skill token, which I'm going to use and discard immediately to reduce the cost of 3 down to 2, which means we're rolling just 2 dice. Let's go ahead and find out what happens here. We do have mitigation possibilities here as well. We'll throw that die into the on the water slot as we are on the water with our sailboat, and we're going to go ahead and take this one here and likely place it back inside the challenge dice pool. I think that's the right thing to do. Can't take advantage of this up here, and I don't want to anyway in case I do another move in the future and want to slot in a star. The entry now tells us you walk down the long hill to the canal, you admire the glimmering monuments to the west. Oh, interesting, and that also makes sense just based on what we explored in the past. We're going to 343, and we've been there before. All right, so we're going to swap out our location and also remember to place back out our structure we had with the 3 boost cubes on it. And we've arrived back at 343, which has our structure. And at this point, we are going to enter the building that we've created here. It says if you enter, we read 1613 in the Book of Secrets. This is the very first time we are checking out that book. And you can also check out that book right from the rule pop. So we'll click this one for the Book of Secrets, and the entry is 1613. Let's find out what it reveals for us. It is in the Book of Secrets. We're revealing now you grew up on the streets of a megacity, homeless at a young age after being abandoned by your parents. At first, you just barely scraped by, but you found a dry place to sleep and learned to steal. The rule that kept you alive was to steal only on the streets, never from any confined space with limited exits. The outside was your home, yet sometimes you catch yourself lingering too long at the window of a warm bakery or home, wanting the comfort of walls and a roof. Lose objective 1613, gain a morale, and objective 1619, and add it horizontally to your supply. So our morale is going to jump up by 1, which is great news, bringing us back up to 3. And we found ourselves a treasure chest. It says if you open a treasure chest, read 1619 in the Book of Secrets. So at this point in time, we need to find ourselves a treasure chest to open, and then when we do, we are able to go ahead and actually look at the Book of Secrets entry. You'll also see this card horizontally in the supply has a die slot anytime we roll a morale symbol, which is pretty cool. Now, if I was specifically looking for a treasure chest, my mind would go to finding some type of other structure or building that it might be inside of, or maybe find something inside the ground or under the water. And we are close to water, and the location action we have here is swim, but I've already taken a location action here in the past, so I cannot do the swim action here. And I've also taken a location action where the Mysterious Traveler was. That was also some water there, so I can't go back there to check that spot, but maybe if we kind of head down along this body of water, we can find a spot we haven't interacted with, and maybe we'll find a chest. I'm hoping we'll find something that resembles that, because that would be absolutely epic. So I'm going to choose to depart to the east. We're going to head back to where we pushed the captain in the water and stole his boat, and that's going to cost us 1 move as it's an adjacent location because it has a value up in the depart area of the card. And so at this point, we just roll a single die unless we have some type of way to use a skill token, which I do not have. So we'll go ahead and roll a single die, and we can slot it in if we need to. There is time. So we could slot this in right here, and that would actually give us a boost. That's actually perfect. We'll place it right there and give ourselves a boost cube on our character, which can go towards eventually going ahead and getting a move skill token. We are back at the location where I pushed in the captain and stole his boat, and the shelter that was at the previous location I actually placed my supply just off screen down below. We are going to go and head east yet again. I want to try and see if I can continue heading down this body of water into areas I haven't seen yet, although this is a completely unknown area. It has an asterisk. We've never been there before, so we're going to go into a storybook to find out what happens. The Depart Storybook 344, let's find out what's happening here as we head our way east. So we're going to go ahead and hit east and tap to reveal. It says to walk east along the riverbank. All right, so for mitigation, we're going to be rolling 3 dice. I don't currently have any skills that tie to it. I can't generate anything from my character survivor at the moment, but I do have a slot up here for a star, so if we get a morale, I can deal with that one there. But everything else will actually impact me, so this could actually be quite the hike. We'll see how things go. All right, so we got ourselves a setback, a time, as well as a morale. So the morale, I'm going to go ahead and slot it up here so we don't have to deal with that. The time might actually impact us here because this slot is now full, and I have nowhere else that I can actually place it. So we will be taking an impact to our time, dropping us down to 3. And this setback die, we're not going to set that one in, I don't believe, anywhere else because it won't tie anything that gives us a benefit. So we'll place it back in the challenge pool. So it took a lot of time for us to walk along this riverbank. Let's find out where we end up. The cityscape fades quickly, replaced by a more natural setting. Go to 470. So we've left the city behind, and we get a little bit closer to nature with this one. And you'll see a symbol in the bottom left-hand corner we have not seen before. This is tied to what's known as compositions, and this is an icon for energy. It says a tall animal stands at the water's edge, sniffing the air and occasionally bellowing at its companion. There's a number of things we could do here. We could chase, we could observe, we could mimic, feed, catch, or hunt. Now, I've got a lot of overpower tokens, but I can also thematically think about eventually finding a chest and potentially needing to break it open. Maybe I can actually do it physically. So if I need to do it physically, maybe having the tokens would be helpful in order to not take as many hits on a high roll. But at the same time, I could use some of these tokens, or maybe just one of them, in order to do some hunting. The opposite side of the coin is I do have a skill token for help, which is green, so I could go ahead and feed it with that advantage. Now my goal here is to try and find a treasure chest, so I'm trying to do actions that will actually lead me towards that. So the observe action might be better than even feeding right now, maybe just sitting here and watching and seeing what they do, although I don't expect any animals to walk up next to a treasure chest, but you never know what might happen just by watching. To this point in the playthrough, I don't think I've really used a purple look skill yet, so let's go ahead and observe and just see what happens. So that's going to be 470 on this pad here. Let's see what it says. It's going to be an observe that is very costly. It also has a D beside it, which is interesting. We'll talk about that later in a second. We're pulling 4 dice as a cost into this action. Now I'm taking a look across my cards to see if there's anything I can do to mitigate, and there isn't. So this is going to be very interesting. This could actually impact me quite a bit. Let's see what happens on the roll here. A little bit scary with this many dice. Okay, so we got 3 in the end. We only take 1 hit to health. So our health is now at 2, our morale and our time is at 3. Let's find out what happens when we observe the animals. And there's also a lookup here, which is going to happen inside the Book of Vantages, which is a book that ties to observing things. And I'll show you that in a second. It's going to be a tap to reveal. It says the beasts have long, powerful front legs that could deal real damage in a fight. Well, I'm glad I didn't go that route because, as you can see, it would have been nasty for me potentially. A gentler approach may be more mutually beneficial. Gain a boost in either one engage or one help, you may continue. So it seems like it's leading us more so towards maybe feeding these, but again, because I've already done an action here at this point by observing, I can't take another location action at this time. All right, so when we gain a boost, we always place it on the character card, and we're going to go ahead and do that. So we got 2 there now, which is awesome because we could cash those in for a move skill token if we want. We can also use them for rerolls and all that kind of fun stuff you've seen before. Now, in taking a skill here, I could take an engage or I could take a help. I already have a help, so let's take an engage one. This will give us some variety in our skill points, and at this point, I'm going to show you inside the Book Advantages what D means. And here's a look at the Book Advantages, and as it says right here, do not look inside unless instructed, and because we saw the D letter on the entry, it lets us know that inside the Book Advantages, this is something that we've seen as part of looking with that skill. So as you can see on the very first page flip, you're going to find on page 2, when instructed to pair your region with this chart, view the page of the Book Advantages identified here. So we saw the letter D, so that tells us to go to page 34. So as you can clearly see, using a look skill can be very beneficial, providing you the ability to have a vantage point of the entire region to better pinpoint your location inside of that region, and also, even more importantly, see more points of interest that you might want to go after. So I can pinpoint exactly where I am in this region based on the location card from that first-person perspective. Now seeing the overworld map, I know I'm over here because this is a creature I'm looking at, and I can see this skeleton of something right here in my location card. So as we take a closer look at the location card, you can clearly see the animal is the exact same type in the region area as well as the location I'm in. You can also see the white bone structure of a creature here, and it's also right here as well. So we know we're inside of this area of the region. Now, what intrigues me is very close to where I currently am. You'll see this floating thing with a glyph or something on it, which is just to the south of where I think I am. So let's actually travel south, which is going to have us heading to 469. We'll depart in that location. It's a standard move, so that's going to cost 1 die to roll. I've currently got 2 in my dice challenge pool, but what I could do to negate the roll entirely is use 2 boost off my character card. I'll discard it for a move skill token, and that's going to pay the cost of the movement, so we don't even have to roll a die. And it's an adjacent move, so we're going from 470 to 469 on the location cards. And as you can see, I was bang on to where I thought I was in the region map, and it says here an impressive piece of technology hovers over the left fork of the path. Now, it is a bit tough to determine whether or not I should head left actually on the depart, meaning I go to 339, or I should go straight forward into the unknown, which looks to be kind of going straight to this creature thing, this shadowy creature, similar to the creature we saw in the previous location, but blends into the trees a little bit. I don't know if we're going to have a nasty encounter with that one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try heading off to the left first, and then we'll go from there. Now this time I'll have to make a dice roll. It's an adjacent move, so we're rolling a single die for this. Let's see what we get. We got ourselves a star. So let's see if we can slot this in somewhere. Nowhere on our grid do we have an opening for this particular icon, but we do have an opening on the treasure chest down below here, so I'll certainly use it. So that's going to avoid us taking a hit to our morale, which is awesome. And now we're going to move on to 339. Now, I didn't expect to run into this when I went to the left-hand side. It looks like maybe going straight would have head us toward that floating prism thing in the sky, but we found the mysterious traveler yet again. It says this may look like a battle, but it's actually a spirited game of dice. The stakes are high as they're playing to win the Helm of Fortune. Now, different from any other location that we've currently been at in the past, it says right here you can perform multiple different actions here once per turn. Now, what is bad news for me is the gold icon appears here. And I unfortunately have a lingering gold curse, and it says all players during any gold interactions are going to lose a coin for each unplaced setback die. So I have 10 coins on me right now, so I have the chance to lose coins. So let's change up our strategy to avoid rolling dice, and also instead of coming in happily in order to join into the festivities of trying to get this helm, let's just straight up raid it. Now, my main mitigation strategy here is to avoid getting hit by the curse, but it's also to try to find a treasure chest as quick as possible, because that seems to be what I'm kind of gunning for based on my personal objective. And if I'm inside an area where there's dice games happening, maybe by raiding it, I'll find a treasure chest. Who knows? Guess there's only one way to find out. So 339 is what we're doing. We're doing an overpower. Now, whatever this ends up being, I do have 3 skill tokens. That should really help me out, hopefully. And I don't have many slots for the overpower. I have 1 on the boat, but we're not anywhere near water at the moment, so I can't use that. But this says 4, raid the area of the artifact. That is a high cost, so I'm going to use all 3 of my overlooked skill tokens right now, rolling just a single die, and that actually is all I have in my challenge pool right now. So let's go ahead and roll it and see what happens. It's going to be a time. So all 3 of my overpower tokens were spent, so they're all being discarded, and the time I'm going to be not able to slot in anywhere, and so that's going to cost me an actual time as I place it down the penalty area. I am very intrigued to see what happens here. Let's go ahead and reveal. It says the sentients don't back down from the incursion. Oh, that's not good. And you must fight your way through them. When the raid is over, if you pay 3 boost, you discover a way to activate the artifact. Wow. Gain item 999 and perform no other location actions here. If not, the mystery of the artifact remains unsolved and it vanishes from your grasp. You gain a boost. So the worst thing has happened. Because I did not keep boost on my character card, I don't have the 3 I need in order to pay to get that information about the artifact and activate it, which would have been very cool. So unfortunately, the mystery of the artifact will remain a mystery and unsolved, and it's going to vanish from my grasp, and we gain a boost. That is pretty rough because I was heading towards that particular object hoping to interact with it, and I did not know that the activation would actually come from this area, or at least have any kind of tie to it, and went in very greedily looking for a treasure chest and trying to raid things, and look what it cost me. So Vantage will continue to open doors for you and close doors on you based on your decisions, choices, and things that will affect the game world as you go through it. So at this point in time in my playthrough, I'm going to stop right here, and I'm doing this by choice as I don't want to spoil anything further about the adventure and what you happen to explore when you play the game yourself. This is more than enough to get you going on how to play this thing solo, and it's worth mentioning as of right now, I have the ability to get one of the 3 success types or victory types in the game. There are 3 of them. The first one is a mission victory, so complete your mission, and as long as it tells you the mission is completed, you can end off right there with a victory. Or you can get a destiny victory, which is what I already have here by having at least 1 business based on succeeding at my destiny, and I can go into the Book of Secrets right now and resolve that destiny victory and walk away happy. I could also push further, which I'll be doing off camera, to complete both of them. So I've already got this one in the bag. I still need this one, and I'll be doing it off camera to go for that epic victory. But again, for the purposes of the playthrough and to not spoil anything further, let's just go ahead and resolve a destiny victory. Entrepreneurs at heart, you're proud to get your hands dirty every day to serve your customers and earn your keep on this planet. The game ends and you achieve an epic victory if you also complete the mission, which I chose purposely not to, but if you're playing the game, you would continue to push if you had time or you wanted to go beyond the destiny victory. Otherwise, it's impressive that you survived long enough to control your destiny, and your knowledge of the planet will benefit you in the future. And that's the other benefit of the game, is the more that you play these individual sessions, the more you understand about the landscape and the world. And when you play a different character landing in a different position, some of the information you learned elsewhere in a prior play will benefit you in a future play. And I can think of countless times across this entire playthrough where I learned something and couldn't actually do any more location actions at a certain location. But now if I was to revisit them in a new play, I would certainly take those actions to see what happens. And that's that sense of discovery that makes Vantage extremely exciting as a solo player to come back to over and over again. And that, my friends, will wrap up my showcase for Vantage from Stonemaier Games, and I really hope this playthrough was helpful in not only getting the game off the shelf and learning how to play it, but also showing you the game in action in case it's the first time you're checking this out and you're intrigued by it. Now, those of you out there that have been playing Vantage and enjoying it in a solo capacity, let us know a little bit about your adventures. We'd love to hear about them. Don't go into specifics to avoid spoilers, but keep it at a high level and very general, maybe the lighthearted moments, things where synergies between things really connected and made a cool story that actually stuck with you. That's the kind of stuff I found in Vantage to be really interesting, is how, like in my case, I had my character do something very aggressive off the hop and then later find a mask that would have been very beneficial, likely to use instead of being aggressive. And then even on top of that, finding other ability cards that kind of actually tied into some things I wish I had earlier. So again, it's just kind of cool to see how the interconnections of the story and the locations start to kind of crop up just naturally as you go through the game. It really feels like the world itself is alive, and that's exactly what you want when you're playing as a solo player going through a game, is that immersive nature to the game. And I really think this has it, and that's again why it was my #1 solo game for new solo players, because I really think this introduces solo play in a very casual way where you can play the game and also do something else on the side, like watch TV or do something else, and really just enjoy the experience of the game without getting too bogged down and having your head buried in a rulebook. And there's certainly something to be said about that sense of discovery, which I think everybody typically gravitates towards, which is the unknown, the mysteriousness of what you're actually playing, and finding out more and more as you play more individual sessions. And that's another thing I liked about Vantage, is the fact that you can play these as one-shot sessions and kind of push for as long of a session as you want. So as long as you complete either a mission or a destiny or both, you have options to end your game early or push even further into the experience to do more with the character that you might really love. Now, for those of you out there that are not part of the Discord community or the Facebook group, we'd love to have you in either or both of those locations. We're talking about retail release solo games as well as crowdfunding ones all the time, and a number of other aspects within the hobby. So if you're a painter, for instance, we got areas for those people. We have areas for everybody, no matter what you are interested in within the solo gaming hobby and around it. And we also have memberships on the YouTube channel in order for you to get plugged in even further with perks to get early access to videos in the future. So if you want to support the channel, that would be awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.